Kings Island near Cincinnati, Ohio has one of the best roller coaster lineups in the country. Ranging from classic wooden coasters to recent additions that offer more intense thrills, there's plenty of variety to be found in this park. I recently had the opportunity to experience 13 of their 14 coasters on my visit during Memorial Day weekend, and I walked away very impressed. Several of these coasters landed in my top 20, two of which even made my current top 5. Let's see how they all stacked up based on my experience. Welcome to Ejector Airtime, and this is my ranking of the coasters of Kings Island. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content, and also be sure to like this video as that really helps against the YouTube algorithm. Starting off the list is the only coaster that I was unable to ride, and that is Great Pumpkin Coaster. Of the 3 kid-friendly coasters that can be found in Planet Snoopy, this was the only one that adults are not allowed to ride unless they are riding with a kid. This is an EF miler coaster that simply goes around in a circle. It was definitely designed for smaller kids and can make for a great first step into the world of coasters. At number 13, I have Flying Ace Aerial Chase. This style of Vekoma family coaster is often nicknamed the Hang and Bang, and now I understand why. While this coaster doesn't necessarily deliver a rough ride, the large shoulder restraints are easy to hit your head on if you don't brace yourself around some of the tighter turns and the transitions. Despite this, younger riders will still enjoy this coaster. Number 12 is Woodstock Express. This PTC family wooden coaster has operated at Kings Island since the park first opened in 1972 and has been through multiple name changes over the years. Opening as Scooby-Doo, it went on to be named Beastie for 25 seasons and then Fairly Odd Coaster until 2009. I'd previously ridden another one of these smaller woodies at Great America, and in addition to being a bit bigger than Little Dipper, Woodstock Express is a fairly smooth coaster and offers small amounts of airtime if you ride in the back. It serves as yet another great stepping stone for kids and offers a modest thrill for families. At number 11, I have Adventure Express. This Aero Mine Train coaster has operated at the park since 1991, and it features a very unique layout. Starting with a curved drop right out of the station and featuring a few enclosed sections, it certainly has one of the stronger layouts of any mine train coaster. Unfortunately, being an aero coaster, this one was not designed with the aid of computers, so some of the transitions on this coaster are not the smoothest. I wasn't ready for how quickly you take some of these, and in turn, this coaster hurt my legs a bit from being hit against the lap bar. The only other thing that takes away from this coaster is the fact that it ends with a lift hill. I prefer the end of Thunderation, which features the large drop following the lift. Apart from this, it's still a pretty solid coaster. Number 10 is in Vertigo. I've ridden a standard Vekoma boomerang, but never before an inverted boomerang. Compared to the standard model, Vertigo actually offers a relatively smooth ride experience. I was worried going in that the massive bulky restraint would be unpleasant and unbearably rough, but it still gave an enjoyable ride. This one also features the unique option of choosing which way you experience the coaster first, and you get to face your friends while you ride it. I personally think Vekoma should have built more of these. Number 9 is Racer. This pair of racing PTC wooden coasters serve as another park original. This coaster was featured in an episode of The Brady Bunch in 1973, and the attention it received played a critical role in sparking the second coaster renaissance. I do wish I could have ridden this one before 2008, as for a number of years, Kings Island had one of these two coasters running in reverse, which allowed you to get two completely different ride experiences. Like many traditional woodies, Racer offers an out-and-back layout full of plenty of floater airtime moments, and the racing aspect just adds to it. It's a classic ride that's well worth experiencing. Number 8 is Backlot Stunt Coaster. This Premier Rides launch coaster originally opened under the Paramount name as Italian Job Stunt Track. The trains were designed to look like Mini Coopers, and the layout features a launch into a strong upward helix through a parking garage. This is followed by a few special effects including fire and a helicopter, a long tunnel with several surprise drops, and of course that signature dive through the sign near the entrance. The tunnel was definitely the biggest surprise, as no POV seems to give any idea as to what the layout's like inside. Number 7 is the Bat. Not to be confused with the original Bat, this aero-suspended coaster pays tribute to the original with its name and paint job. The most unique thing about this coaster is how secluded it is from the rest of the park. It takes a bit to walk down to it, and it makes really great use of the terrain. There are only a few of these coasters left, and based on the ride I got, I believe this one might be the most intense. It features several very steep turns that swing the cars out beyond sideways. It might be a short ride, but this is still an amazing coaster. At number 6, I have Flight of Fear. This is another Premier Rides launch coaster and was one of the very first to use a magnetic launch, and this coaster really impressed me. I did not expect that launch to be so intense, and even crazier is the indoor layout. This ride features a spaghetti bowl layout similar to Poltergeist and Joker's Jinx, but Flight of Fear takes place almost completely in the dark. It whips you through 4 very intense inversions and offers very strong laterals on the incredibly tight curves. Now, if only it didn't bring you to a complete stop on the mid-course. Starting off my top 5 is Orion. Being in the same park as Diamondback, which is a very similar coaster, Orion was intended to give a noticeably different ride experience. While Diamondback puts the focus on airtime, Orion's primary objective is to be a great showcase of speed. At 91 miles per hour, it really flies through its layout. This was the first Giga coaster I ever got to experience, and I wasn't at all displeased with it. Since it tears through its course so quickly, it might leave you wanting more. It might not have the same impressive stance as Fury 325, but don't let that discourage you from experiencing this amazing ride. Number 4 is Diamondback, the park's B&M Hypercoaster. This was one of the first major additions given to this park after Cedar Fair took it over, and they did a great job with this one. Unlike Orion, Diamondback was definitely designed with airtime in mind. There's plenty of floater, and this is a very smooth ride. While there were some noticeable trims on this one, they were not hitting hard during my ride, so it did not take away from any of the airtime. Diamondback was placed in such an ideal location, you can pretty much see this coaster from anywhere in the park. Also, that splashdown at the end is so satisfying to watch. Number 3 is Banshee. I love a good B&M invert, and this one is definitely my new favorite. In addition to its impressive speed, it features a great mixture of slow and gradual inversions to more crazy intense ones. The best part is without a doubt the massive pretzel knot, a very rare inversion. This and the vertical loop that follow were 2 of the most intense inversions I've experienced on any coaster. Also, the hang time you get on that final inline twist is something else, easily one of the best coasters I've ever been on. Number 2 is the Beast. There is no other way to describe this coaster than iconic. Ever since the park built this coaster in 1979, it has retained the record for being the longest wooden coaster in the world. Featuring a track length of nearly 7,400 feet, this coaster takes you through tunnels and way out into the wooded area behind the park. It stays low to the ground, leaving you feeling secluded from the rest of the park during the first half of the ride. Then, following the second lift, you gradually drop into a massive and very intense double helix, an element that absolutely blew me away. I am definitely going to need to come back here and experience the Beast again. Everyone talks about how night rides on the Beast are the stuff of legend. Since it goes so far out into the woods, you're unable to see where you're going during the entirety of the ride. There is no other coaster quite like the Beast. It may be a bit rough, but this is definitely a coaster that is worth experiencing. My number 1 is Mystic Timbers. This currently stands as my new favorite wooden coaster. In addition to having a great theme and backstory, this GCI Woody is overall fantastic. Since it stays below the tree level through the majority of the ride, it maintains such great pacing. They basically took the Prowler layout and replaced some of the low-to-ground sharp turns with more airtime hills, and they did an amazing job. I gave myself about a fist's worth of space between myself and my lap bar, and in turn, I experienced some of the most fun ejector airtime I've ever experienced, and it's also one of the smoothest wooden coasters ever. When GCI gets it right, it becomes a ride experience you're definitely not going to forget, and that's why I have it as my number 1 in the park. That's going to do it for this video. Let me know what your favorite coaster is at Kings Island and how you would rank them. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure and like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content.